3,000.
What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by a DJ and an ex-hardcore singer.
Yes.
We're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Sam Stacka, thanks for coming.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I asked Fracture this when he first came in. My nan is 85. Mm-hmm. How would you explain, I said grime to him, but I'm going to say to you bass music. How would you explain bass music to my nan who's 85?
Oh, God, okay. Probably fast, heavy drums. Techno, maybe. They might have heard of techno.
She's going to say doof doof.
Yeah,
Are you going to say, no, it's not quite?
Say, oh, no, it's got a bit of rhythm to it. Yeah, I think it'd be the heavy bass, fast. I do that with people at work anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Even people our age?
Yeah. What kind of music do you play? Drum and bass? Oh, no, I don't know that one. And then it's like, all right, so techno, but a little bit slower.
It's easy to say doof doof.
Yeah, doof doof.
They get it. So, yeah, we'll also talk about having, the balance between DJing and real world stuff because most artists have to do that. But let's start at the beginning. Whereabouts did you grow up and sort of how did you get into music in general?
So I grew up in Melbourne, so outside of Melbourne, a suburb called Sunbury. Very much a country area when I was growing up there. Lots of paddocks, not so much anymore.
The birthplace of the Ashes.
Yeah, absolutely. Rupert's Wood.
Yes.
So getting into music, I've always loved music. My mum and dad are really into music. My dad got me into Motown. My mum liked the more corny stuff like the Carpenters, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But it really just through a friendship group that I had and still have for many years, we really got into punk at that time. Started a band pretty early on at about 14.
What year are we sort of talking? What era?
Okay, so 1997, I think maybe I got into like punk, Guttermouth, NoFX, that sort of thing.
So this is second generation punk sort of thing.
Yeah. More so moving towards like the pop punk era. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then started a band, I think it was like 99, 2000. Mm-hmm. I started off as a ska band.
Yeah, that was big at that time.
It was. Really into Mad Caddies, Voodoo Glow Skulls, that sort of thing, and started a ska band, had no idea how to play an instrument, a few chords that my dad taught me. A friend of mine decided she wanted to play bass, and we had a friend that played the trumpet, not very well, but did anyway. None of us were very good. Called No Refunds.
Okay.
The first song that we decided to learn was Boys Light Up by Aussie Crawl.
Which I could see that having a bit of
It's
a
got a
ska
ska
kind
beat.
of reggae kind of spin to it.
Yeah. So we did that for a little while. Didn't play any shows at all. Tried to teach ourselves through tabs off the internet how to play punk songs, and then decided we started to get into hardcore and hardcore punk, and decided we're going to change No Refunds to a hardcore band. Mm-hmm. My friend Beck and I were going to be the singers. One of the bands that really we got into, and that kind of was our want to be like, was Poison the Well, and they had two singers at the time. That was a more screamo side of the punk, the hardcore thing.
That became a trend moving forward that you had multiple singers.
Yeah, absolutely. When we were starting to play gigs, a lot of bands had two singers, particularly in Melbourne. There were lots of bands that decided to go down that path, and then they got rid of one and kept with the one.
Forgive my ignorance in this, but is that because it was hard for the front person to do like everything, or was it because they just couldn't decide, or it just became a fucking trend?
I think it was a bit of a trend because one of the singers would have like a high pitched scream, and then one would have a low growl, and they went well together. And it was good to vibe off each other. I think it kind of works the same with me, I think, as doing like a back-to-back with someone DJing. Mm-hmm. You can vibe off each other and, you get into a rhythm. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the case when we had the two singers in the band.
It's not as daunting doing it by yourself.
100%. It's way better doing it with someone else.
It's all like this podcast. A lot of people are like, "Oh, can I just bring my friend?" I'm like, "Oh, do they have anything to do with really?" And they're like, "No, it'd just be better if they were here." I'm like, "Maybe
If they're
not
looking
so
at me
much.
going,
they
"Yeah,
can
this
sit
is
on
real
the
good."
chair."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, I'm like, yeah, but that definitely was a thing. And even with like in the late 90s in the pop punk stuff, like with Blink, they had, both guys would sing different times, but they wouldn't generally sing together.
Yeah.
And that was, I think hardcore kind of sort of started, like people, you'd sing this bit, I sing that bit.
Yep, absolutely.
It's
it definitely made it better just to be up there with someone else.
And so then you'd gone from pop, but hang on, you started with a ska band.
Yep.
Straight to hardcore. And then how did that go? Was the rest of the band members down with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we changed. We went with the full female lineup initially.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a big thing here in Melbourne. There wasn't really any hardcore bands that had a full female lineup.
Was it well received for the most part?
For the most part, yeah, absolutely. We got some pretty good gigs. Like played with Mindsnare, did a few internationals, Throwdown, massive hardcore band at the time. We supported them. Played for a pretty long time. I think we were together for about 8 years.
Yeah, that is a long time.
Yeah, but the whole female lineup, we started trying to find people that were really into what we were into and could go straight into a hardcore band playing gigs and stuff. Found it quite difficult to find the people that were into what we were into. So we ended up getting our friend that we went to school with. She was a guitarist. She was more into like Deftones and stuff like that, but really getting into hardcore at the time. The drummer that we had no idea about hardcore. She was more into hip hop and R&B. But she did really well and we did quite good initially, but then we ended up changing from the full female lineup and getting a couple of guys in there that were already part of hardcore bands.
Yeah, because it's kind of a bit counterproductive to think, just because this person's not female and they may not be the right fit for the band, you know? So you got to let that happen,
Yeah, absolutely, and get over it, get over the whole... Just got to do the girl power thing. We were up there, so...
Well, yeah. If you've got predominantly female lineup or you're both at the front there, so then, let the guys hang out at the back and play drums or whatever.
Yeah, no, we did quite well with that lineup and went on for about, I think it was about 5 years or so, did an EP and, as I said, played these gigs with these big hardcore bands at the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to take it back to my nan.
Yep.
Explain hardcore to my 85-year-old nan.
Screamy music. My mum used to call it screamy music.
Yeah.
I guess maybe not 85, but like parent age when you're younger, they're hearing like metal and Metallica and stuff like that. So you're saying, all right, yeah, kind of, but more screaming, more yelling.
But it's hard for them to
so
get their
hard.
head around though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Even with my dad, I'm like, people are going to come in here and rap, and he's like, really?
That
do
wiggity
stuff? He just can't. He doesn't really get it. But anyway, everyone's different. Okay, so the hardcore thing's happening.
Yep.
You're still loving other kinds of music. I'm guessing the electronic stuff you're still digging, and that's happening in the background.
Yeah, I'm a pretty late bloomer when it comes to the type of music that I play now. I've been into like older music, the Motown stuff like that growing up.
That's a good base though to learn.
Absolutely. And the random songs like my age kind of like 10 years ago and going, that Totally Addicted to Bass song, that was a drum and bass song. And at the time it came out, I had no idea. I do remember coming
She went
back...
to Elwood College.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, when we had our band, State of Mind, we played at a pub in Footscray. I think it's closed down now, but it was like a crusty punk pub. Played for a friend's birthday that we went to school with, and she was obsessed with drum and bass. And all I remember was going, this is the most horrible music I've ever heard, and that she wore fluffy pants. So didn't get into it at that time. Kind of later on in life, started to get into... like the stuff that I'm into now, like the drum and bass, jungle, footwork, all that sort of stuff. Throughout the years, I remember Melbourne Music Festival? No, Melbourne Music Week. there was a footwork producer that came and played at the Vic Markets.
Yep.
And that was the first time I really went, oh my God, I love this music.
Okay.
And
again,
yeah.
Nan, footwork.
I don't even know how to explain it to people I know, like my age. It's there's a lot to it. I think it comes from a lot of different genres, and there's jungle, but not sure how familiar you are with that.
Yeah.
Like, the amen break is within footwork, and it's
like the most sampled
it's
song
hip hop,
of all time, pretty much.
100%
In all genres.
Yeah, absolutely. Hip hop, jungle, breakbeat, all within this one genre of footwork.
Yep. It's amazing to think that like one sort of drum sample can be so used in so many different genres for so long.
Yeah.
And whether they had any idea at the time that was possible. I'm guessing not.
No way. And sped up and slowed down and
chopped up. And,
in everything. Yeah. And again, with the mainstream stuff, like Totally Addicted to Bass, because that's the song I'm talking about, you hear it now and you go, oh my God, like I've heard that before, and it's really familiar, and that's the amen break.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. And even in like you said, popular songs that you don't even really think of, then you like, as I personally, and I DJed for a long time, different sort of music, but now I'm older, I hear songs that I haven't heard since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And you pick up on little things and you're like, oh, that sample came from there. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll say to my partner all the time, I'm like, oh, it's taking me that long to figure out that's actually sampling this and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because your ears just think different now.
That just reminds me of 36 Chambers. And there was, I think it's on Mixcloud, there's someone's done a mix of all of the original tunes that were used in 36 Chambers.
Yeah.
And me going, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense now.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I know. It's so, look, for people that are really good at sampling, they are just on a different level. To find something and think I can like totally use this in a different capacity, I just like, how do they even come up with that?
Yeah.
Like that track lib, I think it is, that do the Instagram stuff,
Yeah.
where they pull apart, and some
Yeah,
songs
yeah.
might have 50 samples from all, and you're like, who can come up with that?
And you don't even think when something's all together. I think it was a Liquid, one of the songs off Liquid Swords, and they've chopped it up and gone through every bit that's been used in that song. It's just like, man, I don't have the brain work for that.
I don't know. And I often wonder what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Do they think, I want it to sound like this and then build from there?
Yeah.
Or do they go, well, this kind of sounds good. What do I need to then make it sound better?
Yeah.
But either way, I don't know. That's why I'm not a music producer.
Okay, I'll just listen to the song.
Exactly. But it is cool, like being on a bit of a musical journey and then figuring out and listening. And then when you do pick up those little samples yourself, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And my partner, she gets sick of hearing it. I'm like, do you know, that's actually from this song from so long ago. And she's like, I don't care.
That's literally our household.
Well, if you've got two people that both appreciate it, then it's good though.
Yeah, definitely.
She's like, oh, just play some like 80s music and I'll be happy. I'm like, okay.
That's me sometimes too.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, and that's a definite thing. I think it's really, I'm just going on a little bit of a tangent now, but to be stereotyped or to wedge yourself into one genre of music, I think is kind of an ignorant mindset, because you have to be able to appreciate all different kinds of music, because the people that made those music appreciated all different kinds of music.
Exactly.
And to say, I only listen to this or that music's whack or whatever, then you're not really thinking outside the box, and you'll be you'll be stuck in your little thing.
Definitely. Yeah. I find that even through hardcore, punk, drum and bass, there's a lot of people that are like that. And it's like, well, how are you going to get into anything that's different? How are you going to progress with your music styles if you're a DJ, if you're not listening to other things? And, you know, and probably shouldn't be saying this on camera, but I'm a big fan of like top 40 stuff. Not all of it, and some's really crap, but there's some stuff out there that's got some good rhythm.
And the way that you approach those people is say, hey, well, this song you're playing, and whoever produced it, I guarantee you they have an eclectic music taste.
Yeah.
So if you like that song and you like what they've done, the person that made it wouldn't just listen to drum and bass.
Yeah.
They would listen to a lot of different kind of music, because they're a well-rounded individual who's put that together.
Yep.
That's how I would explain it to
Yeah, definitely. And yes, I think it's something that you've got to do if you're going to progress in your music career. And what about, going from DJing to producing? You're going to need that ability to listen to different things, and you may not like a whole song, but there's bits in that song that you do like, and you could potentially use those for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. And like you'll find it all the time with samples. You'll see the little bit that they sampled, and the rest of the song they've just gone, well, I don't need that.
Yeah, yeah.
But that one little bit,
Yeah.
that can make or break what people actually want to hear.
Yep, absolutely. The amen break.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, there you go. I'll have to do a deep dive into that and sort of look at the lineage and how it kind of. I'm sure there's videos out there.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, definitely.
But I think there's even a whole doco.
Yeah.
Yeah,
James Brown.
But the funky drummer one.
Yeah.
But there's also another there's another break as well that's used a lot.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. There would be. Yeah. 100%.
We're going on tangents. So let's bring it back to you. Let's bring it back to your story.
Okay.
We haven't even started to talk about DJ yet, but you're talking about the hardcore stuff. Does that slowly wrap up? What happens there?
Yeah, really got to a point where I wasn't really enjoying it anymore. I think I was moving away from that part of my life, and we ended up, I think it was 2005 or 6 was the last gig. So maybe 2006 actually, at Brown Alley in the city.
Yep.
And that was the last one. We just released an EP, put some T-shirts out. And it just got to a point where I was just like, I think this is it.
It is a reasonably angsty kind of music that sort of leans towards, I'm not going to say immaturity, but like, do you know where I'm going with that? Like you could mature out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's hardcore people like, I'll never get out of hardcore. I get that. Yeah. But it is kind of like something that you could mature out of. And I'm guessing that sort of is what happened with your scenario.
I think I just wasn't angry anymore.
But that's maturity.
That's really something that I've taken with me over the years, is that when I was in that hardcore band, there was a lot going on with my life and my mum and my family and that sort of thing. And that's what I was writing about in those songs.
Right. And it was a therapeutic release for you.
Absolutely. And even thinking back to the lyrics that were in those songs, it kind of going, oh God, of course, like that was happening at that time, or this is what was going on, and no wonder I was writing about that.
Yeah, and art is therapy.
Yeah.
Especially when you put it into words, because by writing it, you may as well be telling a shrink, because you're getting it out there.
Yeah.
So when that sort of stuff you start to get control of it more, then you don't have the angst, you don't have the anger.
Yeah.
So that music doesn't speak to you as much.
That's right. I don't think I could write a hardcore song these days. I don't have the anger that
You're happy.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. No, I am. Just do not have that built up, the anger that a teenage person has, or an early adult, is that everything's so built up you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's what I don't have anymore.
Do you think that scene and genre, and not everybody, but a lot of people are sort of carrying trauma and angst and emotions, and that's what gravitates them towards that stuff? Or is that me just generalising?
I think a little bit of generalising, because just as soon as you said that, I do remember back in those days going to hardcore shows, and there was a lot of different people. There was a lot of people that were going through that and didn't have very good lives and were dealing with a lot. And then there's the other side of the coin, which is the rich kids that, this is what they're into and this is kind of what they've gravitated towards for whatever reason. Don't know, not going to generalise that. But, yeah, there were two different sides of the coin in that scene.
Yeah. And it's something that I never personally got into, so I'm just trying to learn from afar.
Yeah.
But what I'm learning a lot by doing this podcast is a lot of people that are artistic have trauma in their lives because that is a way that they deal with it.
Yeah.
And there's different ways you can deal with trauma. It's creatively, it's negatively, like you keep perpetuating the negative stuff.
Yeah.
Or there's also a drug and alcohol abuse, which tends to be another way that a lot of people pretty much everyone I've spoken to that's had serious drug and alcohol problems has been like, I was fucked up when I was a kid and it's messed me up and that's it, you know?
Yeah. Or they go the other side as well, which is straight edge.
Totally.
It's but absolutely. I mean, I feel like when I was growing up, I didn't get into drugs really, smoke bongs as a kid or whatever, but didn't really get into drugs throughout that time in my life. And maybe that's why is that I had that artistic outlet and I didn't feel the need to, but I also had the home life, my family and alcohol and drugs were a big part of that. So I think that may be of why it took me a long time to party until I was older.
Right, okay. So even when you're 18, you're doing these hardcore gigs, you weren't drinking, you weren't...
I was drinking, definitely going out drinking. Drinking from, I say like 14, 15. I was 15, I started going to nightclubs and
in
drinking.
Sunbury?
No, in the city.
I'm like, I don't know, where do you go in Sunbury?
Well, there was one called the Crocodero.
The Crocodero? Tell us about the Crocodero.
I only went once or twice.
Right.
I swear I only went once or twice.
Because let's just break it down. For people that don't know, Sunbury's still technically Melbourne, just like we're technically in Melbourne here. But it's probably 50 minutes out of the city, I guess.
Oh, it's about 35,
okay.
with no traffic. But it is... in the hardcore scene as well is that we were from Sunbury, so we were scumbags, which wasn't necessarily untrue, but we were like, oh, they're from Sunbury.
It's a funny one because it's a nice place.
Yeah.
But it's not a suburb sort of thing. It's
more so a town.
That's the thing that the differentiation, I guess, because people are like suburb. Then you drive for another 15, 20 minutes with no one around, and then you're in Sunbury.
Yeah.
So people kind of just view it as like a country town sort of thing.
Absolutely. It's so built up now. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but the last time we were there, it was like there used to be Sunbury and Diggers Rest. And Diggers Rest is what Sunbury people thought were the scumbags, but, we're all one. There just wasn't any houses in the middle connecting us, and now there's like they're just everywhere.
Urban sprawl's connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing. As property prices become more and more unreachable for people and all these places get built up in between, all these areas that, like you said, 35 minutes from the city, now people are like, that's good.
Absolutely. Just get out of it, but you've got enough there that you don't really have to go anywhere else. Yeah.
And people now are buying places in all sorts of developed areas that are a long way out of the city than 35 minutes.
Yeah.
But I guess traffic is also an issue.
Absolutely.
Factor.
Yeah. I don't think I could see myself moving out there again. It was a trek because we were on V-Line. So getting into a hardcore gig and all ages, we're on the train or coming home from that nightclub when I was 15, 16 is you're waiting for the first train, which is like 9:30 in the morning to get home.
See, that's why they're putting you in that category because you're catching V-Line and that's different to Zone 3.
We had toilets, all right, on the train.
But that is, people are thinking of you differently. They're like, you've got to go catch the V-Line, go down to Spencer Street and you do that and we're going to catch our train from Flinders.
Absolutely. Oh, gosh. Memories.
What clubs were you going to when you're 15?
There was a club in the city called Goo, and that was on Thursday nights. That was a punk nightclub. And then there was one that was called Switch, which was out in Glenferrie.
Which is the same promoters.
Yeah.
Turnbull,
Destroy All Lines, I think.
Yeah.
So there's Goo that I think that closed down when maybe I was like 19 or something. Mm-hmm. That was great because it's like $2 pots, $20. You're in, catch a 9:30 home in the morning on Fridays. But
the 9:30 a.m.
Yeah, the 9:30 a.m.
Okay.
Don't know how I did that without drugs. But the Saturday Switch used to be at Glenferrie just under the station. And then it changed from there. Sorry, no. I think it was at Redback Nightclub or something in the city on Russell Street.
Okay.
And then it went to Glenferrie and then it went back into the city and changed over to Bang. And they called it Bang at Royal Melbourne.
Yes, there you go. I was working at Metro at that time.
Yeah.
I wasn't hanging out on Thursdays that much. But it was definitely the place to go for alternative music, but also alternative people that weren't going to the conventional nights as well. It was a real sort of like mixed bag of all sorts of people.
Absolutely. It was so much fun. I'm not a big nightclub person. I don't think I ever have been, except for those nightclubs, because you go there and you get to listen to your punk and go downstairs and listen to POD, Limp Bizkit and that sort of stuff. And yeah, it was good times.
Good times. And I guess from that, then you start to open your eyes to different sort of music. And is that where your next musical journey sort of kicks off?
Not really, because I think I went through a number of years from the time that State of Mind ended. I kind of didn't really do anything with music, and I actually, fast forward to years later, was in a relationship with someone that was a DJ and playing vinyl, playing like reggae and soul and all sorts of stuff. I said, no, I would never be a DJ. Right. And then we split up and I'm like, I think I might become a DJ.
You've seen how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And just I became friends with a lot of people in the reggae scene and stuff like that. And I was like, I could probably do this. I really like the music and I love exploring new stuff. And yeah, so there was a big break between me being in a band and being a DJ, and I really didn't have much going on. I was more so just working. Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, most creative people have to have a real job at some stage in their life.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
Got to fund your things that you like doing.
With the reggae scene, and this is something like super interesting to me. If you're playing reggae music at a reggae night or reggae gig,
yeah,
and you're not fully immersed in the Rasta culture, are they accepting?
Absolutely.
They are.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Because that's like a whole lifestyle and everything.
It is, yeah. There's different areas of reggae as well. So if you don't know reggae very well, you're thinking like your Bob Marleys and stuff like that. You might think a bit of dancehall, Sean Paul. But then you delve a bit deeper and you end up looking through all these different subgenres of reggae and different times that they're at. So you've got your early days, like your rock steady, and then you've got your roots, which is the next, decade. Then you go into like your new dancehall and stuff like that. And there's so many different people in Melbourne that are into it. So the Rasta lifestyle is part of it, but there's also anyone's welcome, I think, with the reggae scene.
Yeah, which is interesting because I would have thought personally, they're going to be like, this person, they go to do this and then they come here and like they're not part of the whole culture. But obviously they're not. They're more accepting than that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got your people in every scene that aren't very accepting, and to put it as diplomatically as possible, there's people in any scene that are just not very nice.
Okay.
And that's just part and parcel with a scene, I think. But more so than not, you're going to meet a lot of nice people when you go into a reggae gig.
So the reggae stuff was where you started your DJ journey?
Yeah, well, yes. I did one gig at Roxanne's in the city when I played hardcore, and I took a bag of CDs with me to play on actual CDJs where you put the CD in. That was only one. Upstairs, up the lift.
DJ'd up there as well.
Yeah,
they're up the top.
But the proper DJing, I started collecting vinyl, just all the stuff that I really liked, and I'm really into roots reggae, as well as some new stuff, and started collecting hip hop, and started playing vinyl. As I said, I became good friends with some people in the scene, and they kind of took me in and gave me the gigs that I needed to start DJing.
So where was it? So Roxanne, and that closed down. It only lasted a couple of years.
Yeah.
So then where did you start DJing from there? And you're in the city there. There's a lot of places that are pretty down with record DJs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did start DJing with a girl that I was mates with at the time, and we used to do this Sunday session at Workshop Bar. My friends Ben and Beck used to own a place called Grumpy's on Smith Street, and they've been like a rock for me DJing, and they've been so supportive, and it's because of them that I've gotten a lot of the gigs that I have.
And that's where Fracture used to do his 50-50 gigs.
Yeah. We actually worked together at one point in our lives, years before we really knew each other.
In a professional
capacity.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I
think he
know
keeps
his wife.
Professional life pretty
100%. As you do, I'm not going to go around telling people what I do on a daily job, particularly what he does.
You know his wife too.
Yeah. So we all used to work together.
Wow.
About 13 years ago or so. Yeah.
He did his thing at Grumpy's,
Yep.
which was a staple in the scene, and you were also DJing there a lot as well.
Yeah, so when we worked together, I worked with him and his wife. That was me very new into that whole scene-ish thing. Knew who he was and stuff, and had a little chat here and there, and then was better mates with his wife. But years later, because we both played at Grumpy's, Luke and I, my husband, were at one of their nights. I can't even remember what they're called, like Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so their DJ didn't turn up. And so Luke and I are there, and we're just drinking, having a good time, knowing that it's going to get absolutely heaving in there as it did for those gigs. And then and Fracture's like, oh, shit, haven't got a DJ. We've got all these MCs, and what are we going to do? And I'm like, I'll DJ for you. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, no worries. I'll just go get my stuff. Come back. Ends up being this massive thing. DJ, there's like 3,000 guys on stage MCing and the standard. Yeah. But that was quite a cool experience because it was so off the cuff, just like last minute. Here's a USB, here's our tunes. And we started.
Yeah. Oh, so you didn't have to use your own music. They had the tracks.
No, they had the tracks,
okay.
yeah.
But
yeah.
you're familiar with how those songs sort of work because you're,
I'm pretty into grime and stuff as well. So knew what they would do, and they wanted lots of rewinds and, stuff like that. And it was quite a fun night. And it was just so random for that to happen. Never happened again, but that was just quite a good experience.
To be able to do a rewind like that would have been a real thrill though. Like,
yeah, it was quite good.
You just don't want to do it the wrong time.
But I was just like, there's 3,000 people on the stage. Oh, what's going on? And then one of them would give me the nod to.
And then you.
Yeah. It was good.
Good times.
Yeah.
And so does that open up another door for you to think, okay, well then the grime and this sort of stuff is something else that I can do, and that adds a few more feathers to your cap?
Definitely. So I've supported a few international grime acts, or 140, like dubsteppy type acts. Sir Spyro is a massive one for me, being one a gig that was put on at Rubik's a few years ago now. That was a huge one for me because I just love his productions, and he's got lots of productions and lots of grime and dubstep. Komodo's another one that I've supported. That was actually at Grumpy's. He's a great 140 producer. But yeah, definitely got into that, have played a fair few gigs of grime type stuff. Yeah. What
were you doing at Grumpy's when you weren't accidentally DJing for Fracture at Smash Brothers gigs? What kind of music were you doing then?
Well, I did heaps of reggae. I used to actually be part of a sound system in Melbourne called System Unknown. They're still running. I've just left, but still go to their gigs and stuff. So running a sound system, playing reggae, playing drum and bass gigs, heaps of different stuff. Because I'm so versatile with my DJing and multi-genre, as you would call it, I did get booked for heaps of different stuff, which was awesome. I got exposed to lots of different areas, and it really tested me as well as a DJ to be able to get myself into that type of music that I was playing.
And you've got to be versatile, because that's the only way you're going to get gigs. And if you stay in your narrow lane, it's going to be hard, and then you might get your gigs every once a week, but that's about it.
Exactly.
So you've got to be able to play to the masses.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's why I was playing pretty much 8 years straight most weekends, because of the fact that I could play different things and people knew that I could do that, so I get booked for those sorts of gigs.
And were Grumpy's just too accommodating? Is that why it inevitably shut down? What happened?
Look, it's just the rent on that street is just insane. I think that's one of the things, is that no business can be so successful if they're just trying to kill people with the rent. The other thing, there's a time for everything to wrap up, and maybe that was their time. The conversations, everyone is sad that Grumpy's is closed, but I think everyone's quite grateful for their health that Grumpy's closed. But there's just so many stories from there that nothing lasts forever when it comes to these sorts of venues. It's just, it's unfortunately, it's not sustainable sometimes for the long term, but that's just so many memories from that place.
Have the people that were running that gone on to do anything else within that sort of year?
Yeah, so Ben, he's one of the owners, He runs a label called Proxemics, and they're doing heaps at the moment, lots of stuff, kind of finger in all the pies, drum and bass, a lot of drum and bass, because that's where he comes from, dubstep, dub techno stuff. They work a lot with Modern Hypnosis, which is another label from Melbourne. Just kind of doing the more production or event management side of things, or events, rather than running a bar, which is working well for them.
And that's probably, from my point of view, a better way to still be involved without having that weekly overheads.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into owning a venue.
I think just the fact that, it's always a dream of someone's to own a bar, but I don't think I could do it. I'd run myself into the ground, I reckon.
Yeah, I've seen so many people working within sort of hospitality industry pretty much my whole adult life.
Yeah.
People that don't have any experience get found out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a lot of money. But yeah, everyone thinks, I'll own a bar, it'll be great. I'll sit there and I'll drink free drinks and my friends will come in, it'll be awesome. And that's not how it fucking works.
Nah. And particularly now, I mean, we get onto this tangent about the cost of living these days. That's a major part, I think. And for me, having no experience running a bar, but I've been to lots of them, and know a lot of people that have owned bars, it's such a slog that they have to kind of keep their head above water all the time because things just get more expensive. You can't have your mates in there drinking for free every day.
No.
It's not going to do you any good.
No, and there's a big push now for people to not drink as much. So then you've got people going to venues to appreciate the music and blah, 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 but they are not necessarily spending over the bar.
Yeah.
And that's how a bar makes money. And you can see how that's going to...
Yeah. Well, we have this conversation all the time of what do young people do? They can't afford to drink. They can't afford the ticket.
They vape.
They vape and maybe some other things. But I actually had this conversation with my hairdresser because she's like 22.
Yep.
And I said, what, do you go out? And she goes, nah.
Yeah.
She's like, nah, if I go out to a gig, if it's a festival or something, that's it. Like, you're buying your ticket and you're spending for that, but not the weekends.
And at risk of sounding like old grumpy people, there's multiple factors there, though. Yeah. Tinder or online hooking up apps, right?
Yes.
People don't go out to meet people. No, it's a fucking real thing.
True.
It's a real thing,
yeah.
Right? So that takes out the people that only went out to try and meet potential roots, for lack of a better term, right? Yeah. So that takes them out of the way. Yeah. So the people that still go actually love the music.
Yeah.
And the people that love the music necessarily aren't drinking as much.
Exactly.
So and kids these days just don't drink.
Yeah.
You go to some places, a pint is like $15, $18. How many of those can you afford to have?
One. Or share one with your mate.
Mates, with 3 straws, 1 pint, 3 straws, please.
100%. It does. I feel that just from me seeing gigs, particularly with drum and bass, there are a lot of young people there, which is awesome because that keeps the music going, keeps the gigs going. But the ticket prices depends on who you're seeing. Okay, or they're just exuberant, they're way beyond what someone can afford, and then the venue doesn't want you back because you're not spending the money on the bar.
It's a catch-22. But then, to bring it back to Fracture, he's got his 50-50 gig coming up at Laundry with a whole lot of grime artists from all over the country. You've got people like Shadow coming from Perth, you've got Nerve coming from Queensland, and it's a free gig. Yeah. So he actually just doesn't care about making money. He just wants to put on something he's super proud of. And that's fucking cool.
Absolutely. That's kind of the baseline that I have ran with a couple of mates of mine for, I think we're in the 8th year of Bassline, although we've had a little bit of a break trying to figure out where we're going with the venue and stuff like that. But no one's ever paid to get into Bassline. Ever, and it was happening monthly for the good part of 5 years at least. And that's because we weren't interested, we want to keep our brand going and we want to build our brand, but we're not going to charge people $20 to come into a bar. We'd rather put it on for free. So long as the DJs are getting paid, that's the main point for us and our exposure. And people DJ for exposure, but putting having a brand that you want to create this, we don't want to just make money off you. No. We want you to be there and we want you to experience the music.
And that is the balancing point, though.
Yeah.
For a lot of different nights, brands, whatever you want to deem them. I think with more niche areas of the DJing community, like with what you're doing there, if people are playing shitty music that they don't want to play to get paid, they're more than happy, I feel, to come and play the kind of music that they like for basically nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's really cool about the Melbourne DJ community. The people that are playing the gigs that are making money want to just play the music that they want.
Yeah.
And very few and far between can you get paid well to play the music you want. That doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And that's the trade-off.
Exactly. And that's why you have to have a job, a Monday to Friday job, most likely, to be able to make that money, to be able to do those gigs, like your own thing, like Bassline that I love dearly, is I would put all my time and effort into that for nothing because I've got the capacity to do it with, having that 9 to 5. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I spend 30 hours a week and a lot of money doing this, which has no form of making income. So I get it. But the things that you're most passionate about and the best products are stuff that come, I believe, with no idea or foresight of making them profitable.
Yeah.
Because for lack of a better word, they're art or you just do them for passion.
Exactly.
And that's where the best things, if Fracture does 50-50 and doesn't want to make any money, that's cool. People get that.
Yep.
All these people come from all around the country and they know they're not going to get paid. You just set the
Well,
bar.
They
no one
may,
gets paid. Yeah.
But they may. That's the thing. Like, we would always, with every Bassline that we've had, we would always make sure every DJ gets their fee or a fee, dependent on what we've got in our kitty from our money that we put to the Bassline kitty. We'd put our pay in there. And also what the venue's prepared to give us for the DJs, and then make sure everyone gets paid. And that's
but again, that's the balancing act.
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure the venue makes money, and that's why. And I think a lot of people that have never worked in nightclubs or promotions don't really understand. When you pay a fee at the door, well, the way it used to be, the way it should be, you pay a fee at the door, that goes to the person putting on the gig, and the bar goes to the person that owns the venue.
Yeah.
And the door fee that you pay goes to the promoter who's put the time and effort and posters up and done all that, and then they pay the fucking DJs and everyone else.
Yeah.
But now people don't like to pay to go into places.
Yeah.
So then we're left in a spot where, do you want to put on a gig for free? Well, just do it because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because the venue's got overheads.
Well, that's exactly right. And everyone, they're not there for you. Like, they're there anyway, the bar or the venue. You need to sell yourself to them as they're going to make money off this, rather than they don't care if you make money, really. It's
No. And it leaves us in a tough situation. And post-COVID, I think a lot of venue owners are just, they can't think too much about the creativity and why they did it, because they have bills to pay and because people aren't going out as much and people aren't spending.
Yep.
So that's it. And I think from a punter's perspective, I think people need to go and respect these venues, like Laundry, that go out of their way to put on. Where, I don't know if you've got one that you want to mention personally, but they go out of their way to put on these gigs for people that other places won't give them a fucking go.
Yeah. Well, that's with Bassline. We spent a number of years recently at a place called Radio Bar on Brunswick Street.
Yep.
And radio bars.
Was it on Gertrude Street for a while?
Right? Yeah, they were up the side.
Up the top. Yeah.
So they moved to on Brunswick Street, just down from the Evelyn, I think.
Oh yeah.
I always get that and the Tote mixed up.
No, Evelyn's on Brunswick Street. Tote's on the one that's not on Brunswick Street.
Yeah, Johnson.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've housed Bassline for a number of years, but We're just trying to figure out what we're doing, but they are the people that will have you put whatever you want on there. They've got sound days on Sundays. You can't walk in there without earplugs in. Noise, not
Noise
sound.
days.
Noise days.
Like industrial noise.
It's good on them, you know, but it's full on. Yeah. But they have that there because they're like, everybody needs a platform, and if this is their day and they do get people there to come in and listen to the noise, it's definitely an experience, and they would have them there every Sunday because they want to make sure that they've got that platform.
Yeah, okay. So, and look, let's talk about your brand because we've talked about it.
Yes.
But where was that born and how did that come to be? Because you said it's been not longest, but one of the longest running bass nights in Melbourne.
Yes. So maybe not the longest. I don't want to get sued. One of the longest. So Bassline came about from, I talked about System Unknown before, and System Unknown is a reggae sound system. We did a little bit of experimenting with other sorts of music that we like and that we wanted to play, but we thought we needed something else that was not System Unknown because that's a reggae sound system. We want to play UKG and grime and dubstep and everything else under the sun because that's, you know, what we want to branch out to.
An umbrella.
Yeah, so we thought, what do we do with that? And the idea was that we start a night specifically for DJs that usually play, say you've got your grime DJ. They love house music or they love techno and they never get an opportunity to play it because they're always booked for grime nights. Bassline was the night where the DJ could come and play whatever they wanted that was out of the norm, that wasn't something that they would normally get booked for. And that was a platform for us to go, well, I actually really like Northern Soul and I really want to play Northern Soul, a set of Northern Soul. I'm going to play that at Bassline because, you know, every other gig I'm playing a reggae set.
Creative control.
Yeah. And DJs had they could do what they wanted. Yep. And that was the idea of it.
And it's worked for 8+ years.
Yeah, so I say 8 because we're still in the process of figuring out for the future. But for 5 years, as a continuous every month, we'd be having a Bassline gig. Every Christmas, we do a big Christmas party, get a bunch of DJs on, well-known Melbourne DJs, and, continued it on through different venues as well. So we went through, where do we start? So we started at Purple Emerald. That's a place on High Street in Northcote. Phil, yeah, Uncle Phil. Love Uncle Phil, shout out.
Phil on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I must have met him somewhere along the line.
Probably
but he's
on
always
Chapel Street.
Yeah.
He owns a bar on Chapel Street. I can't remember what it's called, but Smitten Kitten. Maybe not. He knows everyone. And still work with him. Like, Luke's played a few nights or days, the Northcote Rise Festival, I think it was called. He did a day there, but Purple Emerald's where we started. Phil was a bit taken back by the bass music, I think, initially, but we ended up getting a fair few people through the door and making them money, which is good. You know, that's kind of.
Is there a scene, just the bass scene, that people will like? It is a bit of a acquired sort of taste when it comes to the global appeal. Is there a scene that people like they're putting on stuff, or is it?
Not really. I think it's a bit of everyone. Yeah. And again, what we aimed for was a bit of everyone for people to come and experience different things. But there's no actual bass scene. That's just a broad umbrella of bass music, which is all of it. So, just a lot of initially lots of friends would come and support us, and they'd be there every week, and everyone would love to have a dance. And then we got more people coming that had come one time, or someone had told them about it and built the brand that way. Yep. And then by, maybe 3-4 years down, we were meeting new people that were coming because they'd heard of Bassline. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, buying our shirts and stuff like that.
That's the tipping point.
Yeah.
When you get people you don't know that are saying, hey, we like what you do. You're
Yeah.
like, cool, I can stop telling my friends to come all the time. We've got an actual like crew.
Bribing them. Yeah. Oh, I'll buy you a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
Literally. No, it was
But
quite
that's
cool.
90%. That's 90% of the smaller end of the promotion game.
Yeah.
Is trying to tell your friends that aren't really that into what you're into.
Yep.
To come and just come and help us.
Just wear some earplugs. If you don't like it, just wear earplugs. But that's exactly what it's been. And that's the same as, DJing, or if you're opening an art gallery or a bar, you're going to have your mates there first because they're the ones that they'll be there regardless of what it is.
Yep.
But they dwindle off. Everyone's got lives and...
But that's when, hopefully, for any brand,
Yep.
That's when other people come in and then other people message you or talk to you or turn up at the gigs and say, hey, I like what you do. I don't know who you are. Then they tell their friends. And then you've found your actual audience.
Exactly. And that's happened with Bassline. And that's kind of why we want to keep the momentum going. We're just working out the plan. But the last place that we had a gig was at 303 Bar. And we had a sound system called Rudy Sound. Did like a Bassline times Rudy Sound gig, and that was packed. And there was Bassline shirts floating everywhere, and people had no idea who they were and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, it was a good thing to see.
Yeah, so you don't. It's going to continue, but you don't know whereabouts exactly.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of an idea. Life just got really busy. I decided to go off and become a Pilates instructor, something that's not bass music. And everyone just had different things going on in their lives. So we thought, let's just put it on hold. I felt like, you don't want to, the lack of a better term, flog a dead horse kind of scenario where we're pushing something that we're not necessarily sure we want to push it in that direction, just to keep it going. But I'd rather, if it's just staying quiet for the moment, stay quiet on a good note of this last gig and then ramp it back up when we're solid on what we're doing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 303 venue, that's not necessarily going to be where it's happening now?
No. We're not sure. Just trying to find something that's suitable because, again, with the music, you get into a venue and places like Radio Bar will have you forever. But then you've got your other bars like there was a bar in the city that we decided to contact Horse Bazaar, and didn't last very long because they put us just before dinner service was finishing. Starting off with a bit of jungle, not going to go down very well with people
Horse
still
Bazaar
eating their dinner.
was reasonably accommodating.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of hip hop gigs, and they let people have a crack.
Yeah.
But it's probably not a dinner service kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. It definitely wasn't. It was a short-lived fun while we were there, but very short-lived as to the stability of Bassline at a Japanese restaurant. Yeah.
So you don't know what's next, but it's gonna continue.
Yes. Yeah.
In some capacity.
In some capacity. Yeah, definitely.
And you're still going to be DJing. That aside, you're still going to be doing your own DJing stuff outside of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Have always done that.
In all genres?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What wouldn't you play?
Is that a loaded question?
No, I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't know. Probably Gabba. I like to have a dance to it. But, hardcore, happy hardcore, not for me. Not for me right now. Not to say I'd never get into it, but
I love how there's two totally different genres of hardcore that you can just be like, oh, hardcore. And then I used to be in a hardcore band.
I've said that to people and they're like, oh, look, a Gabba band. No. Nah. Absolutely opposite ends. But yeah, maybe happy hardcore is one where I've really not connected with it at this point in my life.
Yeah. Bassline is going to keep continuing, but you are in between venues. Are you actively looking for somewhere? If there's someone out there that has a venue that likes bass music, that likes what you're doing, can they reach out to you? Are you looking?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's all in discussions. I mean, if there's a venue that are interested in a bass night, that, you know, there are a lot of bass nights out there, but I think the fact that we offer something we're getting different DJs in. We've got our own solid group, so our crew that does every gig, so more like a residency style night. But more so the fact that the artists that we get in, they're the ones that are bringing something new that's not your standard drum and bass or dubstep or whatever, to make it that eclectic night. And you're going to have people there that are, you know, never heard of certain music before and they're going to love it. So definitely on the hunt for a venue that's they're open to that type of night. Yeah.
An open-minded venue, but what frequency were we talking about? Do you want to do it monthly?
Yeah, so we're looking at, we did it monthly. We're probably going to want to stick to monthly, just to keep it continuous, and keep the interest up. And
Consistency is key.
Absolutely. And to be able to give lots of DJs the opportunity to come in and be able to be part of Bassline. You know, it's something where we went from, we were at a venue, we want to kind of make it something more than it was, and on the hunt for a venue that is interested in doing that.
Aside from Bassline, what other long-running nights have you been involved with?
So on the Bassline tip, so the crew, we've got our crew, there's myself, Matt, Hawkeye, Lego, and Luke Luce. We're all part of a long-running Sunday session called Borderline. Borderline we used to hold at a bar in Preston called the Merry Clan, and the Merry Clan, big up Jules who ran that. She's unfortunately sold it now, so that finished up. But essentially that's the other side of us, which is the nicer, more chill side, a Sunday session. We're actually working on that at the moment, and we're in the process of getting that running again, somewhere closer to us. Not holding it on a Sunday. We're looking at holding on a Saturday afternoon. So
when you say closer to us, where are we talking?
North side, yeah. Northcote. So we're all Northsiders. And yeah, so we've got Bassline, Borderline. Luke Luce has Tough Disco, which is another night, which is another branch, I guess, of the crew, which is more so exactly what it says, Tough Disco. And that's coming up. There's actually one coming up next Saturday on the 19th at Lucky Schmuck, and that's a bar on High Street in Northcote. So we're pretty much keeping everything north side to keep it going.
Yeah, and I love the way that you said the date, and this is actually going out tomorrow, because normally I have to pull people up and be like, when you said that, that was last Saturday, but this is perfect.
Next Saturday. Next Saturday, 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., Lucky Schmuck Bar on High Street in Northcote. There's going to be myself, Luke Luce, Shai Kung, which is our friend Paulie, and some others that are currently in the works of being decided. And that's another night that originally came from Grumpy's as well. So that's
free event?
Free event, yep. Just come on down and see us. It's more upbeat house, dance, UKG, Tough Disco, everything under that umbrella.
Tough Disco. Just flexing.
Yeah, literally. And old disco, you know.
Okay.
New disco, old disco, dance music.
Dance music, yeah. That's a great, soft music for hardcore.
Yeah, apparently that is, that's the banner. Yep.
That reminds me of Poof Doof on Chapel Street, which is the most amazing branding of all time.
Yep.
A gay club for homos is amazing. Like, you can't beat that.
No, it's legit. Like, that is, you're saying it as what it is. And tough music for hard cunts is what Tough Disco is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
So how would you explain that to my nan?
Remember the disco you used to like in the 70s, Nan?
Yeah.
Imagine that with more heat behind it.
She hates swearing, so you would have lost her at the name.
But, you know, she might hear some Diana Ross there. Who knows?
And my nan's old school. She likes country music.
Yeah.
which is
None of that.
shit house, isn't it? Boring. No, she still attributes my love for music to her. She goes, I loved country music, and that's why you love music. I'm like, well, I don't know if that makes sense.
My mum could have said that to me about the Carpenters, and that's definitely not why I love music.
No, man. At the op shop, you'll always see some Carpenters. Carpenters, James Last, Kamal, without a doubt.
Roy Orbison. That was another.
At the op shop, I think Roy Orbison would resell all right, I reckon.
It probably would. My nan used to have a Roy Orbison tape, and I remember that clearly because it was in a little tape thingy. It was all full of John Farnham, Roy Orbison, yeah.
All the classics.
Bee Gees, yeah.
So good Australian collection in there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there is, yeah. John Farnham, Roy Orbison, he's not Australian, but the Bee Gees, somewhat Australian.
Crawl?
Australian Crawl, there you go.
Yeah.
So have you ever delved into thinking about making your own music?
I have actually made my own music. I do have a song out on Bandcamp called Go Baby. Produced that with a good friend of mine, OG, Oakley Grinnell. He's a amazing producer. Put that out probably... it's a long time ago now. I probably should have put out more music since then, but about 18 months ago, I put that out self-released. Working on another tune at the moment that's produced by Luke Luce. That is hopefully going to be released sometime soon, so long as I'm happy with it. So it's amazing right now, but, you just don't want to let something go out unless you're 100% ready.
For the technology nerds that are watching, what are you using to produce these music?
Just GarageBand. Yeah, just GarageBand.
Keeping it garage.
Yeah, and Serato Studio.
Okay.
Yeah, so I put everything together. What I've done with this one is I've put everything together. I've made the tune, and then I've given it to Luke to produce and engineer, and just to give it more oomph and put some little bits in there. And yeah, so it's turning out very well, and it's almost ready.
I had Hijack on not long ago, and he's telling me about how he's playing his own songs at Revolver at garage nights.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, are people digging it? He goes, man, I'm playing UK garage. No one knows what the songs are.
Everyone's like, yeah, I love this one. I heard this one the other day.
But is that actually a thing? Do people come up to you and go, I really love this track, or are they just having a vibe with the songs?
They love it. And this has happened a fair few times that I played it, and I actually played it. I closed out Wide Open Space Festival in the Northern Territory the year before, and I played Go Baby for that set, and it went pretty mental, which was amazing to see, and got some video of it, which was great.
And from a DJ perspective, when you play a song, people lose it, you feel good. If you play your own song, people lose it. It's got to be a huge vibe.
Because you've written it. It's like, this is mine, and people actually are into it. And if you're going to release something, it's something that you would play and you would listen to yourself. And it's just really great to see, particularly because what I've been making is more footworky type stuff. And that's playing it at a drum and bass gig, and then people going, this is amazing, has been incredible.
So let's talk about festivals then. Mm-hmm. Besides your regular nights,
yeah.
Done a lot of festival stuff?
A little bit. I played Wide Open Space Festival, so that's the Northern Territory one. That was incredible. And
did they dig it there?
Yeah, it was great. And I played the last set on the last night, which was very nerve-wracking, but super fun. I played at Esoteric a couple of times. I played this year at Esoteric. The Jamaican Music and Food Festival, I played that. That's only the one-day thing, but that was great too because I played the last set there.
With Esoteric though, it's different to what's going on generally there because they're generally listening to not bass music,
psytrance usually.
Right. Yeah. So are you on the main stage? Are you the relief from what's going on with the bow 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 bow?
I don't know if I'd say it was relief. No,
Well, no, it's different.
Yeah. So there's a stage, the Snake Pit Sound crew have a stage at Esoteric. It's a side stage, but it's still a massive stage. And it mostly is drum and bass, glitch hop, dubstep, all the bass music that you're not going to hear on that main stage. Chockers all the time. Like just, heaps and heaps of people will go down there to, I guess, get a break,
A little bit. Like
just something different to dance to, a different tempo. Yeah. And played at Tanglewood Festival last New Year's, which was good.
And more festivals coming up if people want to book you.
Yes, definitely. Always open for booking, for festivals particularly. Absolutely. Keen to keep doing that. It's a different experience than your normal gig. Lots of preparation going into it. Just being there and being in it has always been really great from my experience.
So talking about technology and the way that people play music, you started with the actual physical vinyl records.
Yeah.
Now at like a Bassline gig or something like that, are you still playing records?
Oh, not so much anymore, but I've still been collecting. I collect more like heavier stuff now, jungle, footwork, dubstep, but haven't played a vinyl set in a long time. Would definitely do that again. Now, the Serato controller I went to after that to learn how to mix and play digital. Then moving on to playing your standard CDJs. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now.
Because the Serato thing comes in like 2008-ish, 2007 maybe, and then everyone who played records was like, oh, we get the feeling and the vibe and the aesthetic of playing records, but with my laptop. And that's a huge game changer for everybody. But then technology comes around again where you like, well, Serato's now moved to controllers and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're embracing all aspects of that sort of evolution.
Yeah, definitely. When I first got Serato, so I got the Serato vinyls.
SL1.
The
first one.
No, SL4. No, was it SL3 or SL4?
SL3.
The latest, I guess. I don't know. But they've collected dust in my record cabinet. Then, got a controller, started playing on controller. Was playing a controller out for a fair bit, but I needed to teach myself how to use CDJs because you can't take a controller everywhere. And I guess it's a step up because it's a step in a different direction because you don't have your laptop, you can't see the waves and, see where everything's coming in. Then went on to CDJs, but CDJs don't have CD bits anymore, it's just USB.
Yeah, well, that's an XDJ, and that doesn't have a CD. So I've got CD. Yeah, it is kind of confusing. I think the 2000 Nexus 2s were the last ones to have the physical CD.
Yeah,
and they're still very expensive though.
So expensive. We've still got a controller at home because we've borrowed CDJs off people before, but it's just insane how much they cost. I mean, I would love to have some, but,
It's crazy, like, I've bought and sold DJ equipment for a long time. There's not much stuff that you can buy and then sell 5 or 6 years later for more than you bought it for. And if you buy the right DJ equipment, you can do that.
Yeah.
I've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's things that go up in value. I guess you absolutely look at selling them, but I've got 2 turntables at home. Both need servicing and they've needed servicing for a little while. But yeah, I don't think I'll be able to sell them for very much anymore.
Man, 1200s. You see how I treat them. They've like got shit sitting on them, but they like those. They're Mark Fives. I can sell them now more than when I bought them.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen very often with anything. Imagine doing that with a car. The right Commodore, but like
with lots of extras.
Yeah, you can't do that with much other stuff.
Yeah.
I've even bought Pioneer mixers, used them for 4 or 5 years, and then sold them to a venue for more than I bought it for. If you do it in the right capacity, it can be done.
And keep them in good condition as well.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd be able to wreck them. Yeah, that's right.
Aside from music, I'm obviously a pretty fit individual. I do Pilates often.
Yogis.
Yeah, I do yogis
Yeah.
and Pilates. No, but you also do Pilates.
Yes.
You're a Pilates instructor.
Yes.
Tell us what's involved with that and what's happening with that.
All right. So I decided, well, I've always loved Pilates, and during the lockdowns, I had two things in my life. One was our stream on Twitch. The other one was me doing Pilates in the lounge room. And so after 4 years, I decided I was going to train to be a Pilates instructor.
What's involved with that?
Pretty intensive training, learning about anatomy, being able to do it, like the moves and stuff, which 4 years ago, no chance I would be able to do any of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can't tell people how to do something if you can't perform it yourself.
Exactly. And
So
if you
you've
look
got-
like an idiot, if I was doing a move and I look stupid, someone's going to go, I don't want to look like that, so no, I'm not going to do it. But yeah, so I went through some intense training back towards the start of this year. So finished my training in May, and both mat Pilates and reformer Pilates I'm trained in. And I've just been doing a bit of ad hoc mat sessions. So I booked a studio for a bit to do mat sessions every second week, and doing some reformer classes and just really getting my experience up doing it, because eventually I want to get out of the corporate world and look to buy my own studio down the track.
For sure. And for someone like myself who doesn't do Pilates, and I understand that it's about stretching and moving your bodies in certain ways, but does it have an aerobic effect, or what is it good for? Like, I guess it's good for your muscles.
Yes.
But is it also good for like losing weight, or what is the benefit of Pilates? I don't even
Absolutely.
fucking know.
So I don't like running. I'm not a big fan of cardio, but there's different levels of Pilates. So you've got your basic or your classical Pilates, which is mat work, and a lot around flexibility, strengthening, but also mind and body. So you're going in there, you're spending that time for yourself, and it's affecting your it's releasing endorphins because you're doing exercise. And the main benefit I've found from Pilates is that I'm more flexible, but also you're not doing a big gym workout where you're putting all this pressure on all your joints and muscles and creating issues down the track for your body.
Yep.
It's low impact and it's toning. So I found the toning part, and there's the different levels beginning, as I said, the mat Pilates, but the classical stuff, you've got all the way up to turbo Pilates, which is more like HIIT style Pilates. It's fast paced. The reformer is a great, that's my favourite, reformers, where you're on a machine and it's resistance. So you're different springs and doing your own weight resistance, I guess, with each movement.
I had no idea that's what reformer Pilates was. There you go. I've learned something.
Exactly. It's a bit different than music, but it's something that I want to combine together. So looking to the future, opening a studio, just a small studio, building my own sound system for that studio and making it more of a music kind of experience, and having DJs play, and that's that kind of thing. So combining the two passions.
Do you normally have music playing when you do Pilates? And I'm guessing it's pretty ambient stuff.
It can be. I know for my sessions I had a UK drill instrumental playlist at the last session I did, and that went down really well for the people that attended. So it was good. Liquid drum and bass stuff. But usually, depending on the level, and if you're doing like a power session or something like that, you're listening to higher intensity music.
Yeah.
It's not the same as yoga. There's differences between yoga and Pilates, and Pilates are more fitness based exercises, I think.
And yoga?
Yoga's more mindful, slower paced a lot of the time. Lots of breathing. I mean, you have to breathe in Pilates as well, or you die. But it's more breathing, mindful. But Pilates is more strength based. Yeah.
I know people that go to Pilates twice a day. Will they get benefits out of that?
Oh, I'd hope so. It's pretty expensive.
I think I dare say that my mate, I think he pays for the full membership and he's like, fuck it, I'm going to go
Why
twice.
not? Yeah. And they're 45-minute sessions usually. So if you've got the time in the day to fit it in, you do it. I'll usually do maybe like 3 times a week in Pilates, yeah.
And how have you found it different? How have you found it as an experience doing it as an instructor from somebody who is learning?
Learning is you don't have to think about explaining things to people. I think it would come into the same basket as if, say, for example, you're trying to teach someone how to DJ. It needs to be succinct explanations of what you're doing. You make it too convoluted and they're out. No one's going to learn anything. But when you're just practicing, when you're just doing it, an instructor's saying, put your leg here and you're doing it. But if you're instructing, you need to say, put your leg here by doing these steps to get there. It's more thoughtful. But I have found that doing more teaching, I do less myself.
Yes.
Because you're too busy telling other people what to do.
And it's also, you've got to take into consideration what that individual can do personally. Saying to them, move in this way, they may not have the capabilities to move their leg in that way. So you've got to work with each person individually, figure out what they're capable of.
Yeah, and you get them to sign a waiver before you start, and you have insurance. They're the 2 things that you need to do. But
so there is Pilates related,
insurance?
No, I'm just going to say there is Pilates related injuries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
If someone's got a bad back and they don't tell you, or they've got, they've broken their wrist and they've got no movement in the wrist, but you're getting them to do planks, they're not going to be able to do it. So, yeah.
But people, I've come from the school of thought where I think Pilates is low impact. It's probably a good way to get somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of mobility or someone who they're not that limber. They could figure out and they can get to know their body. That's what it's kind of about.
Yeah.
At a rudimental level,
Yeah, definitely. And you've got like Pilates itself, you've got different levels. You've got different levels of teaching. So there's clinical Pilates that's to deal with people with injuries or ailments that they need to strengthen or to make more flexible, whatever their situation is. But then you've got your standard, you go into a gym or a Pilates class, but you've always got to ask if there's anything that anyone has happening with their bodies that you need to take note of, and you can modify stuff for each person.
So making that journey from student to teacher, do you like Pilates more or less?
More.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
It's grown your passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I go to a class myself and I'm being told what I'm doing, it makes you feel good to know what it is and how it's going to help you. And that's the first thing you learn with each movement is that you're doing this for a reason, and you're doing a plank because it's strengthening these muscles and having an effect on these, your upper back and your lower back and whatever, position that you're doing, which is going to benefit you in the long term.
So if you go as a student now, you've got a lot more respect for the teacher.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But also I get really excited when they've got new things that they bring into the class. It's like, oh, this is good. I could probably use this.
Well, you're always learning.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like music. You're always learning. You might go see someone else play. And you're like, I never thought that this song would work with that song, or I didn't think to mix this like that. So you're always thinking differently and you're always learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had a really, really great DJ producer that I played a night with once tell me that I taught him a different way of mixing that he'd not thought about before. And I thought that was really cool that, my mixing skills, which sometimes I feel I can clang things together, taught someone else how to do it differently.
That is amazing, and I'm curious to know more. What was this thing that he'd never seen or heard?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I was just like, oh, thank you. I just think, I've got this thing of that I notice with my mixing is I like to do some hard transitions rather than just the slow blend in. I like, and I think that might come from the reggae maybe, is that knowing that it's coming in and then it goes to a bit in a song and then you're bringing in the new one quickly.
Yeah, reggae can be very abrupt like that.
Yeah.
But you're also sort of generally on the same sort of time
That's
pattern,
right,
so
yeah.
it doesn't jar the audience.
No.
But I guess if you take that approach to different styles of music where they're used to long blends,
Yeah.
then
That's right.
maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy that did tell me that is a UKG producer.
Okay.
So having long blends with UKG, what he plays, compared to my quick transitions, but very brash transitions that
Abrupt.
abrupt that must go well together.
Yeah, but I think the whole idea, and if you're getting into sort of avant-garde music sort of scenarios, like you're not playing for the masses at the pub, right?
Yeah.
To keep people guessing is part of the key, I believe, you know? Like if you're just playing music for every Tom, Dick and Harry that's at the pub that wants to hear the classic songs, they don't want to be shown anything different.
No.
But if you're playing to people that get the music and they like that music, they want to stay on their feet.
Or perhaps hearing two tunes that have been played together before, but you play them differently than the other person had played them or something. I'm just as an example.
No, yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely a way to do it. And then we could talk about that shit.
Yeah.
Ages. No, I think that's really interesting because people think that the art of DJing, and look, there is the very base level of it, which is mixing songs together.
Yeah.
But then there's the next level and the upper echelon of it, which is like, let's make people think, let's make people wonder, what is that sample coming in?
Yeah.
Are we hearing a bass line from a different song?
Yeah.
Are we hearing a vocal? Are we hearing a high point from something? And that's the real thing that when you get to these sort of nights where other DJs are attending, you're trying to fuck with them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're all chin stroking in the back.
Because you want to.
Yeah.
You want to keep them on their toes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of that comes from, just to go back to the music and what I did in the lockdowns, is that Luke and I did a stream on Twitch called the Inside City Streamcast, and we did that for the whole time during the lockdowns. And
So you were ahead of it. You had all the technology ready to go.
well, we did it on a phone, so it was like it was not high tech, but it looks good, and we had a great setup in the lounge room. Did that for 3 years solid, every Saturday night doing it.
Amazing.
And that's how all those transitions of different genres and different things and keeping people on their toes, that's what we got to experiment with in that time.
Yep.
Because we're just in our lounge rooms, but we're playing to all these people from all different areas, you know, our family members and friends and people from work and stuff like that, you know, you've got to kind of keep it interesting for them.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the very few things that we can take out of that sort of shitty time is that it pushed people online to do creative stuff.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm super envious. Like, I would love to have had my shit ready to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you guys seem like you just sort of worked it out.
We did. We just went, all right, do you want to do a live stream? Yeah, okay. All right, what should we call it? Inside City Streamcast. Yeah, okay.
It's a shame, though, that a lot of that stuff, as soon as the world opened up again, it sort of just dropped off. Because
Yeah.
people just thought, well, we don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, though, because I think that sort of shit it has a place in the world of entertainment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can't get to gigs. They can't get to bars. They can't go out there.
They got families that they need to stay home for, or they just don't like going out.
Yeah.
They're the ones we've done a few pop-ups over the last couple of years, and we've found that we'll do a surprise Sunday or something, and we'll get heaps of people logging in, going, "Yes, we can't believe you're back doing it," because they're at home. They don't like to go out to parties, or they've got the families, and their kids are sitting there with them watching it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's a shame that it took something like a global pandemic for the world to push entertainment online.
Yeah.
It's also really cool that it came back to real life, but it would be really cool if there was a balance of somewhere between the two, where people would still embrace that shit and on a Saturday night be at home, have a glass of whatever they want to drink, and still like get down with whatever they're watching online, which I think we've come so far with the real life stuff now.
Yeah.
People just don't fuck with the online shit too much.
Yeah, I did a few gigs or a few online streams for a Chicago drum and bass crew that were in Chicago and did the online stuff. So I'd have to do my set at 11 o'clock in the morning here, but it'd be like 4 a.m. over there.
That's cool though.
But they don't even do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's a shame because they just, I think it was every second day or something they were doing their stream.
Yeah.
They got a really huge following up and it was going really well, and they've just got busy lives and gone back to it.
And I think people just forget to look online for that stuff now.
Yep.
Where when everyone was stuck at home, you had to look online.
Yeah.
But now people are like, oh, we're back to normal life.
Yeah.
And it would be really cool to get that balance in with real life and online cool shit.
Yeah. We've got a couple of friends that still do it on Fridays, 5 till 6. It's called The Let Off. If anyone wants to watch Twitch on Fridays. But 5 till 6, they'll do half hour each. And they've been doing that for a fair while now. And just kept it going, just to keep it going.
Yeah, and props to them because that's cool.
Yeah. They got their influence from us, you know.
No, but I really admire the people like that because they might have a small audience now, but who knows what's going to happen down the track, and then they've already got their ducks in a row and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And what we did see with that fucking last pandemic thing is like everyone tried to take their business online, whether or not it needed to be.
Yeah.
They thought, oh, we'll do online stuff, which fucking it was pretty pathetic because a lot of businesses didn't translate to that.
No.
So kudos to these people that are still doing it now because they'll be the ones ready to go if... Hopefully not. But if anything changes, changes, or the world is inevitably going more online anyway.
Yeah. But there's ones that just couldn't do that. You know, your hairdresser couldn't be working online.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, shout out to the hairdressers.
Shout out to the hairdressers.
Sam, before we wrap it up, do you want to give anyone else a shout out? Do you want to tell us what else is coming up? I know you've got some new music you can't really talk about too much.
Yeah, I'm too nervous to give a release date, but it will be very soon.
Yes.
We've got the Tough Disco gig next Friday, next Saturday the 19th, Lucky Schmuck Bar on High Street, Northcote.
Yes.
7 till 1 a.m. Looking at putting Bassline back in the market and getting things going with that. Gigs I'm sure will come up during the year. And my Pilates.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
Cool.
And just shout out to our mates, who have we got here? Bassline crew. Bassline crew, we've got us though, families, we've got Vader out there, Grumpy's crew, and everyone else that I've forgotten.
It'd be cool to have a Grumpy's reunion.
There has been a couple of just reunions in the past, but definitely there's one bound to come up soon because I think it's just past 5 years or something since its closure. So get all the old haunt going again, all the DJs that used to play there.
All right, Sam, I appreciate you coming in. It's been a great chat.
Thanks for having me.
No, man, you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
3,000.